Matthew 28, 1 through 15. After the Sabbath at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here, he has risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he is risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you." So the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. "Greetings," he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." While the women were on their way, some of the guards went into the city and reported to the chief priests everything that had happened. When the chief priests had met with the elders and devised a plan, they gave the soldiers a large sum of money, telling them, "You are to say, his disciples came during the night and stole him away while we were asleep. If this report gets to the governor, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble." So the soldiers took the money and did as they were instructed. And this story has been widely circulated among the Jews to this very day.
He has risen. When I, a worthless, miserable sinner, realized Jesus was who the Bible says he was, all that mattered to me was the cross. The cross, that there was forgiveness of sins because Jesus died for me. I realized I didn't have it in me after reading the story about Jesus to satisfy a God whose holy law is so far above me, I couldn't even imagine it. And so all that mattered to me was the cross. In fact, I was asked to speak early on at a youth camp retreat, and I did a whole series on the cross because I was just like, the cross, the cross, the cross, the cross. And someone was really upset with me because I didn't really bring the resurrection into the whole camp talk, the whole series, and I'm like, yeah, he rose from the grave, right? Big deal. The cross, forgiveness, it's at the cross, right? But over the years now, I'm like, wow, the resurrection has as much meaning, if not, well, I won't say more, but it is so important. I was reading this article, I think it was Dateline or someone had written in, and there was this widespread announcement that they had found the tomb and evidence, the shroud and everything that was wrapped in Jesus, and evidence of Jesus's body, like left remains of Jesus's body. And this article said, I guess now this 2,000-year religion is going to have to be on the shelf with all the other religions of the world whose founders died. And if it were true that they found Jesus's body, they're right. We would have no ground to stand on for this hope of a future resurrection for ourselves. If Jesus died and didn't rise from the grave, sure, he was a great teacher, sure he was all, but how can we trust that everything he said was true? Because he prophesied a resurrection. The Old Testament prophesied that the Messiah would suffer, but that the Messiah would rise. So Paul said it best. If there's no resurrection from the dead, then Christ didn't rise. And we have no ground to stand on, and we are to be most pitied. Our faith is worthless. Jesus rose from the grave. When our hearts grasp that, we will understand that means we for sure are going to rise from the dead. When we die, it is not the end. And we can only know that because he did it first. It's such good news. It's as good as news as the cross, the resurrection.